What's up, guys? I'm Laura from Reading in Bed, and today I'm going to be talking about literary journals. Now, if you've just clicked on here because it says giveaway in the title, which I totally get, I'm going to talk about that first. You can enter, you can choose to stay with me or not. So the giveaway has to do with literary journals too. I have recently surpassed 500 subscribers here on YouTube, which is really exciting. It's been a long time coming. I uploaded my first video 5 years ago. Now, there was a 2-year gap between my first and my second, but still, it's been 3 years of very sporadic and not consistent videos, but whatever. It's a big deal to me, and shout out to Barter Hordes, who was my 500th subscriber. Also, shout out to Leah, who herself recently surpassed that milestone, and she did a giveaway to go along with it. That's what inspired me. I actually won that giveaway. I have not received my prize yet, but that is because of some postal difficulties, which we are working through. But what I liked about Leah's giveaway is that you got to choose a book. I think it was from the long or short list of an Australian Book Award. So I'm doing the same. I'm going to talk about 5 literary journals today, and as a giveaway to thank you, you get to choose one that you want a 1-year subscription to, and that is going to be the prize for this giveaway, and it's going to be international, so go ahead and enter. I will list each of the magazines and journals down below. In case you don't want to stick with me and hear me talk about them, you can just go ahead and enter, and it'd be lovely if you subscribed and shared and all of that, but let's be honest, I'm not going to check. Just comment. Make sure I have a way to get a hold of you, of course, like your email address is in your profile, or, you know, put it there. And of course, you'll have to share your mailing address with me so that I can actually sign you up for the subscription. So with that, I'm going to go through these 5. They're sort of in order. These are all literary magazines and journals that I am currently subscribed to, and I was recently going through them to see which ones I wanted to stay subscribed to. So I'll kind of talk about that as I go too. So the first of these is Quill and Quire. So this is a Canadian magazine, and this is the latest issue. This is actually the one that I've already decided I am not going to renew my subscription to, and it's not due to the quality, it's just I am not the right audience for it. Quill and Quire is really an industry magazine, so if you are a bookseller, a librarian, in publishing, if you're a writer, this is going to be a lot more relevant to you than it is to me. Now, I do like that they have quite a bit of room in here for reviews. Every issue has a lot of reviews, but they tend to be shorter. They try to cram in a lot of books rather than giving a lot of space to a fewer number of books. So for example, here's the review of Warlight by Michael Ondaatje. This is a book I'm super, super excited to get to. So I saw there was a review in here, and I was really excited. It is a full page, which is kind of unusual. Like, that's about as much as you're going to get. So he's getting the star treatment here. But the review itself, and like all the reviews in here, I think because it's industry, they don't really go for it. Like, you don't see negative reviews. And actually, if you read this review, I'll see if it's online to link to you. I have a feeling this reviewer didn't like Warlight that much, but they're really holding back. Like, the review didn't really say much. It gave some plot summary, and it talked a bit about the themes and some of the techniques he was using, but it didn't say if he, you know, said something new or interesting about those themes, or if he used those techniques effectively. So I guess I'll just have to read and decide for myself. But I mean, these do give good overviews. Every spring and fall, there's kind of a roundup of, you know, releases that are coming out. So that is Quill and Quire. But again, it's very, like, the columns and the news and stuff is really more for industry people than it is for the average reader. Okay, so next up, I've got Glass Buffalo. So this is a very local literary magazine. It is put out, I believe, by the University of Alberta's Creative Writing Department. So most of the writing in here is from students who are in that program. But each issue also typically has an interview or a feature with sort of an established writer. So this is one with Zoe Whittle. And many of those interviews are conducted by noted and recently absent booktuber Jason Purcell. So that's kind of an added bonus, and they're always really interesting. And the writing, like the rest of the stuff in here, tends to be, you know, short stories, poems, essays, and that kind of thing written by students. But the quality is really good. I mean, I shouldn't sound surprised by that, but I admit when I first subscribed to this magazine, I was really surprised at the high quality of the writing in here. And it's always kind of exciting. Like, you can find really new and really emerging writers and maybe get in on the ground floor with someone who's going to, you know, really take off and have a career. That's the feeling I get every time I read an issue of Glass Buffalo. I think the article I remember the most from a recent issue was about how dolphins were used in like psychedelics and LSD testing in the 60s. So this is obviously a nonfiction piece, but it was really interesting, and that's something that my husband is interested in, like all this, you know, how the CIA and people used LSD and other things in experiments. So, you know, I showed him the article and we talked about it. So wide variety of stuff in there, and really super high quality. So this is one I am definitely gonna stay subscribed to, by the way. And the covers all sort of have this black and white look, and they pretty much all have a buffalo on them, I think. Well, no, this one. And every year you get, like, this is a really thick one of Creative Writing Award winners. So that's Glass Buffalo. The next one is Canadian Notes and Queries. So this is a more kind of national, I guess, sort of literary magazine. This, I believe, used to be edited by Alex Good. Now, do I have his book on hand? Of course not. Oh, no, I do. So here's Alex Good. He wrote Revolutions. I made a video about this last year probably, and I'll link to it, but he, like, in terms of his tone, I talked about Quill and Quire, who doesn't really go for it. This guy goes for it, like, big time. He's very critical of CanLit and the CanLit establishment. So in here, you are much more likely to find very critical and even negative reviews and articles that really get into some of the controversies that are going around in CanLit, of which there are always too many to keep track of. In addition to you know, short stories, even comics, poetry, and, you know, things from established writers. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't always read these cover to cover. Again, some of it is a little bit industry focused. Like, there's a bit of a book selling focus in here for sure. There's articles about rare books and things I'm not always super interested in, but I always find something that I'm into in these. And I mean, the covers are all gorgeous. I have a bunch of these. I think they're all illustrated by Seth. So here is the recent 100th issue. I believe this is the first one I ever read, and I picked this up at a like a book swap, so that was cool. And then I just kind of subscribed from there. So yeah, as you can see, very, very beautiful magazine covers. So these are very collectible, I think, and I'm going to hang on to them, and I'm going to keep my subscription. So the next one, finally, we have one that's not Canadian. Let me just, I was just reading this in the back today, so it's a bit folded up, but this is Book Forum. So this is the most recent issue right here. So this is American, and it's very American focused. Like, there's a lot of political stuff in here. You know, here's one with Mr. Putin. Here is Ta-Nehisi Coates. And who else do I have here? And Joni Mitchell. So as you can see, this is like a really big, I kind of like how it's such a, you know, you open it up almost like a newspaper. And again, the book reviews in here are really, well, they tend to be pretty high quality. They're longer book reviews, so they get into, like, you know, a couple thousand words on a particular book. And often they will review sort of a, you know, 2 or 3 books together that fit together thematically, which I like, rather than just always doing, you know, individual books. There's pretty well-known writers who contribute to this magazine. You know, it's like all of these, I don't read it cover to cover. I don't always read all the political stuff. There's also often a lot of coverage of art books, which I don't usually read. But I really go in there for sort of the recent fiction and nonfiction reviews. And yeah, they tend to be quite high quality. And again, they don't hold back. Like, there's a pretty critical review, I think, in this most recent one of The Female Persuasion, which I found it a little nitpicky. But I mean, it's like the current book of the day that everyone's gushing over. So I'm always open to hearing, like, you know, dissenting voices from that. So Book Forum, another one that I'm, you know, staying subscribed to for now. So that brings us to our last one, which is my absolute favorite. This is The Happy Reader. So this is the latest one with Jarvis Cocker. on the cover, and the format for the Happy Reader is kind of split in half. Half of the magazine is an interview with a celebrity, and like some kind of bookish celebrity, and then the other half are all different kinds of pieces, not really reviews at all, like different responses to a particular classic novel. And they always announce which novel is going to be in the next issue at the back of, you know, the one that you're reading. So for example, this is the latest, and you can see on the last page they're announcing The Black Tulip by Alexandre Dumas, which actually inspired me to choose that for my summer read along, which that'll probably be in my next video where I'll talk about that. And it's funny, the Happy Reader, of all these 5, I mean, this is really more of an advertorial. This is put out by Penguin Classics. So, you know, obviously every book that they choose as the focus is a book that you can get from Penguin Classics. And like that's the focus. Really, this is a piece of advertising, but it is so well done. It's so well put together, you know, well edited. They really seek out celebrities who actually have something to say about books. They seek out people to write the pieces that are, you know, really good writers. This issue, for example, the focus was Treasure Island, and there was a piece in here by, let's see if we've, yeah, Ishian Hutchinson. Okay, so he's a poet. I'd never heard of him, but I went on to read his collection after I read him in here, and he didn't actually write a poem in here. He wrote a response, an essay about his childhood, and related it back to Treasure Island, but it inspired me to go pick up his poetry. Ended up writing a blog post about poetry after that. So, you know, like there's just a lot to go off here. And this one, actually, this interview with Lily Cole was one of my least favorites, even though, you know, she's like a ambassador for like the Brontes 200th anniversary and stuff, and she owns a bookshop, I think, but this interview was a little shaky for me. This interview was great. I mean, I'm a huge fan of 90s Britpop. And then Kristen Scott Thomas, this is the first issue I got. This was an excellent interview as well. This is sort of the old style of cover, and now they're more colorful. This only comes out twice a year. It was just as I subscribed. I think they moved from 3 or 4 times a year to twice, and I would read this monthly. I would read it weekly if I could. And I love that they're kind of purse-sized, and like there's a lot of pages. These are, I was kind of joking, you can kind of count these in Goodreads. Like Goodreads will put these issues as a book, so of course like I, you know, did that. But they are kind of like a little book. Like the interview is very, they really go in depth, and then they have like all these different articles and essays and poems and, you know, illustrations and stuff, and just, yeah, again, I'm gushing. I can't get over the quality of this, and it's just funny that of all these literary journals, which for the most part are like, you know, the typical, like they have an editor and they, you know, solicit pieces or whatever, this is really just an advertisement for Penguin's Classics, but it is the best of the bunch as far as I'm concerned. So there's the 5. I will list them down below again, and if you would like to enter the giveaway, just tell me which one of these you would like to receive for a year, and I will, let's leave it up for a week. Today is Sunday, June, I guess I should have looked that up first. Whatever day this is, a week from now, I will close it. I'll come back on here and announce a winner. So thank you again for subscribing. Finally got here to 500. Maybe one of these days I'll be a middling booktuber. That's 2,000, so we'll see. And thank you for watching and entering.